Shalom. Shalom and welcome. This is Extinction Protocols. It is a series of messages to those who seek to do the will of the Almighty Father. It is a series of messages to those who come to accept Yahuwah as the Almighty Creator and accept that it is Yahushua, our Messiah, our Mashiach, and that no man can come unto the Father except by the Son. My brothers and sisters, this is Extinction Protocols, preparing for transitions. While many of you may be in denial, man is on the path towards extinction. It is by the divine or the righteous intervention of the Most High that we will see His plan unfold, and we will not reach our demise as some scientists may think. With that in mind, my brothers and sisters, critical times are ahead. There are things that are unfolding that will change the landscape of this planet within the next 25 years or less. Today is May 23rd, 2014. If you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Symmanayah. This segment of Extinction Protocol is entitled Two Options, No Other Choices. Two options, no other choices. Allow me to define the word protocol. It's a system of rules that explain the correct conduct and procedures to be followed in formal situations. We will come to realize that as we prepare for our final exodus, there can be no other situation that is more formidable than preparing for our final exodus, going to that safe place and awaiting the return of our Mashiach, our Messiah Yahushua. This series, I am compelled to believe, will prove to reflect necessary protocols as they relate to man's extinction, or it could be worded as a time of transition. My brothers and sisters, though we walk around thinking we are our own person with power, the truth of the matter is that there are two influences. We either fall on one side or the other, and those two influences are righteousness or wickedness. They represent two options, and there are no other choices. We can add words and form. We can stretch it out with many phrases, sentences, and descriptions, but the bottom line is when it's measured, when our actions and our words and our deeds are measured, they either fall into one of two categories. Therefore, we only have two options. Our actions will either reflect the righteousness from above, or us being victims to the wicked one. There are no other choices. Allow me to read Matthew 25:46. And these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteousness into everlasting life. So there's an everlasting punishment, there's an everlasting life. Do we not know, my brothers and sisters, that it is these earthen vessels will not go into everlasting punishment or everlasting life, that there will be a transition? Allow me to read John 3:16. It reads, For Elohim so loved the world that he gave his only brought forth Son, so that everyone who believes in him should not perish, but possess everlasting life. Jude 1:7 reads, Even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities around them, in a similar way to these, having given themselves over to whoring, and gone after strange flesh, as set forth as an example, undergoing judicial punishment for everlasting fire. Keep in mind these words, everlasting, my brothers. And if there is something that is everlasting, know this. Just as Ecclesiastes say that these earthen vessels will go back to the dust from which they came, it is true. And if there is a annihilation of these earthen vessels, or transformation of these earthen vessels, the words to describe such could mean the extinction of man as we know it. My brothers and sisters, though we move through our daily routines with each passing moment, making decisions that not only affect us but also affect others in more ways than we often realize, it all boils down to one of two options. Either our actions and deeds and words reflect righteousness or wickedness. Life is full of many tiny details, from every nerve ending in our bodies to major decisions regarding love, fellowship, relationships, marriages, birth, careers, and more. We are bombarded with so many choices of how we manage these earthen vessels. Just like the enemy used delusions and distractions in times past to cause us to think of ourselves more than our true makeup, we are witnessing the same old tricks today. Scriptures foretell of a time when man will increase in knowledge, and I am referencing Daniel 12th chapter, verse 4. Allow me to read it. It reads as follows. But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. Who has given thought to what this means? I submit to you, it is my belief this references an increase in discernment and wisdom, while at the same time witnessing attacks from the enemy in the form of distractions and delusions. Look around, my brothers and sisters, how technology in the information age have brought truth, but have also brought delusions and distractions, of which we are faced with how to navigate through such. I submit to you, it is through the Spirit of Yahushua, it is through his living guidance that we will be able to navigate through all information that is presented before us. One of the biggest delusions is that many of us think that we think this thing we know as life is only about us individually. Yes, sometimes we hear people saying you can be whatever you want to be, or it's always talking about me, my, I, and what I want. Or in some cases, we focus on the immediate surroundings, our neighborhood, or our homes, our neighborhood, our community, unaware that things are happening across the globe in many shapes and forms, unaware of unending prophecies that are unfolding. Well, not unending, but prophecies that are unfolding. It appears, my brothers and sisters, that we are void of recognizing that we are part of a righteous body of one that has many members in Yahushua, our Messiah. And for some reason, many of us have been overtaken by the evil one, Satan. Yes, my brothers and sisters, in spite of what we may think of ourselves, we are either serving the Almighty Father Yahuwah through Yahushua, our Messiah, our Mashiach, or we are being deceived by the enemy. Again, there are only two options, and there are no other choices. Who has sought to discern the truth in these words? Who has given thought to everything we do? It either contributes towards building life, or it is a reflection of wickedness. Sure, we can get into a plethora of words, or sling many terms and phrases and diverse words at one another. Or we can make it simple, or elaborate. In either case, our words and deeds fall into one of two categories, righteousness or wickedness. You see, my brothers and sisters, though we take the simplest things for granted, they too can be measured against righteousness or wickedness. Only two categories. You see, my brothers and sisters, we have taken things for granted. We have dismissed our actions as not important unless we are quoting scriptures or showing acts of kindness or love. We fail to realize in our day-to-day routines, people are watching us. In some instances, we learn a thing or two from one another, while in other cases, we learn what not to do by witnessing the mistakes of others. There are people who will throw up words like, we have free will, or words like, we are not to be as though we are robots. Though these words are true, it does not make us exempt from seeking to do the will of the Almighty Father Yahuwah through his set-apart Spirit sent in Yahushua's name. Words such as free will, or not expecting us to respond as robots, it will not excuse us from being expected to worship and obey the living commands from our Almighty Father. Individuals who continue on with business as usual on their day-to-day routines will soon witness a disruption like never before as end-time prophecies become intense. My brothers and sisters, we are not individuals who sit in a confined room, cave or cabin or hole and go through life without interactions with another. Believe it or not, even the most simplest of things we do make a statement to those who witness our goings and comings. Again, any and everything we do fall into a category which clearly presents one of two options, with no other choices in sight or even possible. Though we glaze over the smallest of deeds, we still will be held accountable for everything we do in these earthen vessels we know as our body. Consider Matthew 12:36. It reads as follows, "And I say to you that for every idle word men speak, they shall give an account of it in the day of judgment." Romans 14:12 reads, "Each one of us therefore shall give an account of himself to Elohim." And Revelations 20th chapter, verses 12 to 15. They read as follows, "And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before Elohim, and the books were opened, and another book was opened, which is the book of life, and the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the book according to their works. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and the death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them, and they were judged every man according to their works. And death and the grave were thrown into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And if anyone was not found written in the book of life, he was thrown into the lake of fire." My brothers and sisters, no matter how many words we add to describe our actions, they are still either words of life or wickedness. There are no middle grounds. We are instructed to guard the commands of our Almighty Father Yahuwah, but most of us think this only refers to the Ten Commandments or written laws. I submit to you, when we are told to guard the commands of the Most High, it is more than just the Ten Commandments. It is more than just observing and recognizing the purpose of the ordinance and laws. It means witnessing to his living voice through the Spirit of Yahushua, directing our footsteps on a moment-by-moment basis, whether we are aware of it or not. We fail to realize we serve a living Almighty One through Yahushua, and as a result of clouded vision and obstructed hearing, we are unable to see clearly or hear accurately what the Spirit is saying to us. Our total behaviors are influenced one way or another. Even in the simplest of conversations, something is demonstrated. End times are here. Our Almighty Father has promised to reprove and discipline when necessary his loved ones. Though we may take for granted the simplest to the magnanimous or the big or the large regarding our words and our deeds, they do not go unnoticed. Each of us will give an account, and as we go through this journey, we will be awakened to realize the world does not revolve around us. In other words, we are not the center of attraction on this big and enormous planet. There are billions who contribute to life's influence in more ways than we can imagine. So many of us go through our daily routine and don't give a second thought as to how we affect others. So many of us wake up each day with business as usual, and for what is written regarding our very breath, heartbeat, and more, we take it for granted. Consider these words. Deuteronomy 8:3 says, and he humbled you, and he let you suffer hunger, and he fed you with manna, which you did not know, nor did your fathers know, to make you know that man does not live by bread alone, but every word that comes from the mouth of Yahuwah. Matthew 4:4 says, but he answered and said, it has been written, man shall not live by bread alone, but every word that comes out of the mouth of Yahuwah. How many of us have taken for granted that the very breath, the very life we have is by the mercies and favor, is by the words of the Almighty Father? Yes, my brothers and sisters, we have only two options. There are no other choices. The key message to consider is that we cannot live except by every word that comes from the mouth of the Almighty Father. It would be wise to realize there can be no fellowship unless the Almighty Father breathes those words, except by Yahushua HaMashiach, that we understand and receive life immeasurably. Take a moment to reflect on your life, and if you are given an opportunity, ask anyone, whether or not you have contributed anything to their life in any way, shape, or form. You just might be surprised as to how you affect the lives of those who witness your actions, your words, your deeds. End time will prove to bring moments of refinement where our eyes will be opened wide and we will begin to recognize the things we took for granted in times past will become noticed going forward. We will begin to appreciate what is most needed, what many have taken for granted and labeled the simplest of things. Things such as fresh air, fresh water, and food will take on a whole new perspective as we face extreme drought and famine as end times become intense. Things such as a place to lay our heads and rest from time to time. Things such as habitable places will become more appreciated as end time prophecies become intense and we watch storms and whirlwinds lay waste habitable places that we were accustomed to resting our heads. My brothers and sisters, these unfolding days will prove to be humbling indeed, and there will be nothing anyone can do to stop prophecies from being fulfilled. The 144,000 in multitude are being refined. We will emerge as described in Scripture, and there will be much to witness. There will be a final exodus, and we will witness structure, discipline, righteous guidance with proof among our ranks. Whether we consider these things minor or very small or large, our actions will still fall into one of two categories: righteousness or display of wickedness. No other choices. There will be no middle grounds. I cannot stress enough that there are two options and no other choices. So let us be mindful of the spirit of Yahushua. Let us be mindful of the importance of what lies ahead. Yes, my brothers and sisters, we will be faced with critical decisions. Decisions that will put many at risk of death, while those who are committed will face life and life immeasurably with understanding and comfort. End time brings challenges like never before witnessed. We will be shaped and refined to fulfill all that is written. We will see righteous actions and wickedness among us as we are refined. A time of purging will come to be, and times to come away will be made clear, and we will respond. I pray that my actions are reflective of an obedient servant to the Most High Father Yahuwah, as guided by his set-apart spirit sent in Yahushua's name. Yahushua, my Messiah, my Mashiach. I pray that my actions are reflective of an obedient servant. I pray that each of us come to realize, even in the smallest of actions or interactions, that we reflect decisions that fall into the category of either righteousness or wickedness. That we realize it is indeed true that we only have two options and no other choices, period. I pray that each of us are able to endure until the very end, of which is not far away. So until next time, my brothers and sisters, my family, stay tuned. And remember, there are only two options. Even the things we think are simple, such as a hi or a good morning, or I love you, or working peacefully among our co-workers, or getting along with our neighbors, even the things we take for granted, oftentimes promote life, and we are unaware. Sometimes even the simplest things, if our mind is not on the Most High, could also be a devastation to someone or an attack on someone. So let us be mindful of the influences in this world and beyond this world. Until next time, my brothers and sisters, stay tuned as Extinction Protocols continues. Shalom, shalom, shalom.